really wanted to get birth control, but I come from a family household where it's, it's one of those things where like you kind of have to ask for permission even if you are over 18.
I can remember being terrified, fearful of becoming pregnant, because that was so taboo and something that would have been very upsetting to my family.
And I was scared to death, but I was also more scared of getting pregnant because my father would have died, just died.
Casually, I was riding to school with my mom, and I was like, hey, can we look into getting me birth control? And just terror washed over her face. She started sobbing.
One thing that I wish I would have heard more before I started, honestly, is some of the positive stories. I think it was so scary for me to start birth control, even though I really needed it.
Put me on birth control that they thought would help. And while it did help with the period for a little bit, I remember thinking it made me feel emotional. It made me feel like I had ants under my skin. It made me feel anxious.
It was a bit overwhelming because I felt like I didn't really have much control over my emotional state. I would have these depressive slumps that were like very taxing on me.
I was majoring in dance, and that was what we were talking about, is effective forms of birth control. And I still was somewhat scared from my mother's experience with birth control pills. So I thought, okay, this is modern. The IUD is modern. It's, really effective. So I went in, and the doctor said, you're going to feel a little pinch. Well, if that was a little pinch, oh my God. I had never felt that kind of pain in my entire life.
I decided to try birth control because I had like super bad PMS, like just horrible. I was in pain all the time. I think it was like maybe 1 week out of the month where I wasn't like miserable or in pain, or my mental health wasn't horrible. And like my periods just got to the point where I just like couldn't take it anymore. And I never used it for like a contraceptive reason. It was also really intimidating because I'm a queer person, and going into that space I feel like it's very structured around straight people, and like for birth control reasons other than you're in pain and your period is really heavy.
I think there's like a stereotype where women are told to kind of like suck it up, or this is a private thing for you. So even when you're going through it, you're keeping everything to yourself about what's happening, and you're just trying to save face, and be like, well, this is, I'll suffer through this because I'm not gonna have a baby, so I'll deal with that. And then you just kind of suppress everything. I think it's a very similar thing with like emergency contraceptive. It often falls on the girl to go and get the plan B and all the hormonal effects and changes that you go through with that, and you go through it alone. I feel like I've dealt with this journey a lot by myself. And
like, this isn't something you can really be like talking to people out in public with. And I think that's a big problem, is we try very hard to keep like our own bodies hush hush.
Scared of sex. I didn't understand my period. I remember when I first got my period, I freaked out. I was like, guys, I'm bleeding. I don't know what's going on. And then all my girlfriends that already had it were like, you're just on your period. It's okay. And I'm like, I didn't know that, I think we need to start learning earlier in the education system. I think kids need to understand that this is normal. This is a normal part of girls. They're going to go through this, and that they have these options of how to cope with it.
Overall, where we were when my grandmother was a girl to where we are now, there has been significant and steady improvement, okay? So we have to endure these occasional cultural lapses into stupidity.
It saves lives. Like, I don't think people realize like how much is at stake. Like, there are so many people's lives who should be important and should be considered, that's lives depend on things like this, and it's not built around them, and that's not fair.
It's truly not